Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry at the Movies. On this show I'm going to briefly discuss the recent various incarnations of Superman done on the silver screen and in comic book form. Now some of you may recall back in 2006, Brandon-Routh played Superman in the film Superman Returns, which was directed by Bryan Singer. And that film was basically set after the events of Superman 2 with Christopher-Reeve, ignoring the events of Superman 3 and 4. Now the thing about that film, which is not a good film, it's a terrible film I think, but more than that, the costume was, as you can see here, is totally off. Number one, the S is a little too small for my tastes. And the other thing is that the costume seems like it's desaturated. There isn't that much color outside of the yellow. The red is more like a, not even a crimson red, it's just a burnt amber red. In other words, it looks like the costume from of Bizarro from the comics, which was the evil Superman, or the alternate Superman, and especially the one, as you can see here, that Christopher-Reeve played, which was basically Bizarro in Superman 3. That's what the costume looks like. That's what Brandon-Routh's looks like. And so it was a complete reversal of what was expected from the costume. Costumes should look light blue with bright colored red S. And that is the costume. That's the costume that I always remembered. It's the costume that I think we expect. It's, you know, Superman is sort of like an icon, an American icon, kind of like Santa Claus and Mickey Mouse. So you really want to stick close, I think, to the bright colors that existed. I think part of the reason why there was this desaturation in 2006 is because this was during the Bush presidency, and before you decide that or think that I'm going to say something political, I'm not. But during this time, America was not seen as the savior, the country to look up to, because we, went into war in Iraq, and the whole mess after 9/11 just seemed like the world was a bit desaturated of color as well. Now that may be representative of that. And also the fact that in the film Superman Returns, they can't even say truth, justice, and the American way. They sort of trail off. It's actually a phrase given to Perry White's character, played by Frank Langella, where he says truth, justice, and they can't even say American. I mean, look, it may be subtle, but I think it was reflective of that time. But I don't think that the costume needed to be desaturated of color. Now, there is a new Superman film, as you can see here, Superman Man of Steel. It will be coming out in the summer of 2013, and it stars a British actor for the first time playing Superman and Clark Kent, Henry-Cavill. Now, this is just the only still thus far that exists that I know of. It was the first official still. And if you look at it again, the costume looks like it's desaturated of color. He's got the physique, though. I'm not sure if the presence is there. It's hard to say. We won't know until the film comes out, so I'm not going to prejudge. But again, the costume is desaturated of color. It just doesn't look right. Of course, this could be just one of those stills where the costume looks that way. Maybe when we see another still, we'll see a picture that looks just right, but for the time being, it looks a little too much like Brandon-Routh's costume. And then in comics, as you can see here, we have a new Superman look. And here he's wearing boots, has red eyes, and wearing jeans. But that may not be nearly as off-putting as this other picture here, where he is not wearing his red underpants. And that was part of the iconic look for Superman. Listen, I don't mind making changes here and there. Batman certainly had his changes, but for the most part, Batman looked like Batman. I mean, even in Christopher Nolan's films. But now even the comics, as is happening now with even movies, are rebooting That's right, rebooting, reformatting, remaking the original comics. They're doing this with Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and Batman, of all things. As if Batman hasn't been through various incarnations himself, the costume always looked more or less the same. But they're revamping the Action Comics #1. In other words, they're starting right from the beginning of Superman and redoing the entire story. And this is just insane. Now, I know the comics world, the world of comics rather, is suffering a bit. Their sales are not what they used to be. You'd think the sales would go up, especially now comic book movies are really a genre of their own. And a lot of people are seeing them, but be it as it may, this is just insane. This new idea of revamping everything, and I always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's an icon. Don't mess with Superman's costume, but they have. So there you have it. I'm not pleased with it. I can't imagine too many comic book fans are pleased with it, but it's probably not as bad as what was the story that Kevin Smith once told of a producer, and his name escapes me now, and probably just as well, a former hairdresser who became a producer, who came to him and said, "We're doing a new Superman movie. We want you to write it." If you recall, Kevin Smith was optioned to write a new script based on a script that was no good in the first place. In fact, this was long before Brandon-Routh came into the picture. Nicolas Cage was going to be cast. And the story Kevin Smith told was that this producer, again his name escapes me, said that Superman maybe could exist without a cape and fight polar bears in the Fortress of Solitude. Thank God that movie was never made. Jesus Christ. Alright, anyway. Sacrilege, I know, but I had to say it. So, not pleased with these new looks, people. Not at all. I'd like to hear any comments from comic book fans. And those about the new stills from the new Superman movie. So, next time, I guess I'm in a bit of a Superman fix lately. I'm going to review the first 3 Superman films: Superman 1978, Superman 2, plus the Richard Donner cut, and the less than impressive Superman 3. You can look at my Jerry the Movies programs if you like through my playlist, where I review Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, which, by the way, is a much better movie than Superman 3. And more fun than Superman Returns. There, I said it. Alright, this is Jerry the Movies, signing off.